Okay, come on in, guys. Can you hear me? I got a message that there was an error. So hopefully you guys can see me and hear me okay on YouTube. And all right, good. I can see you guys too. All right, come on in, guys. We're going to be talking about the Sebastian Rogers case today. I did want to do one update. Peter Hyatt is fine. I shouldn't say fine. He does have stage 4 cancer, but he is with us. And I took that video down where I had mentioned that he had passed away. Somebody that I trusted came into my chat to tell me that. But I have since learned that that is not true. He is asking for prayers, however. So I took that video down out of respect for his family. Um, but I do want to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the latest theories in the Katie and Chris Proudfoot interview, the 11 red flags in this case, the top 5 theories, and we're going to go through some of your comments regarding this case also. Um, so thank you to all of you who are joining me today. I'm Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects and share with you how to do the same thing. If you have not subscribed to Reporter Room, please do. It's free and it helps me out a lot. Let me grab that. I did not get a chance to share this on social media. So if any of you guys are willing to help me out, I really appreciate it. Thank you to our producers, Njaz, Sasha Angel, Mikey M, and George Brown, and Pepper. And thank you to our channel members. And if you would like to have your name appear just like this, come on in, guys. Come on in. Just hit the join button. It's next to the subscribe button. And thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you guys coming by to spend a little time with me. We're going to go through some of your comments later today in the show as well. So if you've been commenting to me in the comment section, you might be featured in the show. And I also want to do super thanks and coffee gratitude. Thank you so much for your kindness and generosity, and also gifted channel memberships. Thank you so much. And I think Pepper also gifted a channel membership today. So I obviously wouldn't have had a chance to add that in, but but I will for the next live stream. All right. So come on in, guys, and let's go through. We're going to talk about Peter Hyatt. We're going to be talking about the red flags in this story. I can think of 11. I'm curious if you guys have seen more. We're going to talk about some of the neighbors and how they are being treated, and some of them are feeling fearful. And then we're going to talk about the 5 biggest theories in this case, and we're going to, discuss those at length also. So we're going to start off talking about Peter Hyatt and his post. Now, for those of you who don't know, Peter Hyatt is a statement analyst. He is still with us. I shared some of his video during the last live stream. I did take that down though, because someone that I trusted told me that he was no longer with us. I also saw that it had been reported out by a couple of admins that I also trusted, but something got. I did find it back to the original post of what I think was the original post. I'm not sure where she came from. He does have stage 4 cancer, but he is still with us and his family, to my knowledge, and his family is asking for prayers. But this was posted by Peter Hyatt on December 29th. It was one of his last posts on Sebastian Rogers. And he posted, over many years, in-person interviews for child A allegations, when a boyfriend or stepfather introduces the topic of discipline, choosing his own words, the child was likely physically I'm watching my words in case you have little ones in the room. Quote, discipline introduced by stepfather/boyfriend, not the interviewer, inevitably was a dominant part of the investigation. And he continues. So he's talking about this in terms of Sebastian Rogers, because he's used Sebastian Rogers' picture right there. And no one's been charged in this case. I just want to say, no, everyone's innocent until proven guilty, and no one's even been indicted on this. But I do admire his expertise. He's a statement analyst who has spent his life in career training law enforcement. He said, in missing children cases, analysis from transcripts, when the mother's boyfriend or stepfather talks about discipline, the A is central. So the abuse is central as to why the child went missing. The latter is far more intense due to the child's unknown to law enforcement and the public current status and plight. So he continues, he's talking about Sebastian here. He says, Sebastian Rogers' case is an example of the guilty seeking to control the narrative that the stepfather knows will condemn him. And the guilty knowledge rises to the surface if we are listening critically, not emotionally. It is in his own words, not mine, yours, or the interviewer. And he continues, when the child was missing, stepfather boasted of how great a disciplinarian he was. While the victim was missing, the stepfather showed no concern for what the child was going through. And he says, quote, stepfather would not pass a polygraph. So, boom. That's what Peter Hyatt thinks. This is his expert analysis. And again, nobody's been charged in this case, and everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But I just do think, it's interesting. So I know you guys have probably seen the interview with Chris and Katie. We haven't watched it yet. 1 second. All right. So hopefully you guys can see me. It looks like, okay. All right. So let's go to this. Let me share this and make sure I'm not in the way. And I am. That should be good. Okay. So we haven't watched this together as a reporter room community. So we are going to watch it. And then we're going to go through some of your comments over the past week or so. We're going to go through those together as well. So think about what Peter Hyatt said. We see a much more muted Chris Proudfoot, in my opinion, in this latest interview. So I do think that's interesting. I think he's being a lot more quiet. And Katie actually gets to talk in
So
this.
first, thank you both for taking the time.
So this is the
to
full
talk with me. I
interview.
appreciate you.
And then we're going to go through some of your comments
So
in the
here
comment
we
section.
are. So it's an entire year after Sebastian's disappearance. There's no really strong lead. There's no sighting yet. So tell me what you're feeling now. Here we are 1 year later.
I struggle to put words to how it feels, honestly. The amount of ups and downs, the amount of possible leads that haven't panned out. We every day, it's like waking up to this reality that it's actually real. And Sebastian should be home with us. He should be in school. He should be playing. He should be learning. He should be experiencing life. And until we can find him and until we can bring him home, we're going to keep doing everything we can to make sure that people don't forget about him. We're going to keep making sure that we spread awareness for him, and we're going to keep searching, and we're definitely going to keep praying.
So a lot of people have, wondered, why we feel a certain kind of way about this case. What is it? So I think it's, worth talking about the red flags. I wanted to share with you Peter Hyatt's expert analysis. He doesn't think Chris Proudfoot would pass a polygraph. Now, Katie claims that he did. So I don't know. I believe he took a polygraph. Maybe law enforcement did tell him that he passed it. I don't know. But Peter Hyatt seemed convinced that he did not think that Chris Proudfoot would pass a polygraph. So some of the red flags, and we're going to go through 11 of them. We're going to talk about them together, and we're going to go through some of your comments and talk about those too. But some of the red flags have been, the fact that Katie has changed her story multiple times since Sebastian disappeared. We have 3 different versions, according to criminal profiler Pat Brown. And the fact that she's setting off alarm bells for, professionals like Steve Johnson, who's a statement analyst, Peter Hyatt, who's a statement analyst, criminal profiler Pat Brown, who also does statement analysis. The fact that this is all setting off alarm bells for professional people, I think that's a red flag. Number 2 is the multiple CPS, Department of Family Services cases that were opened on Chris Proudfoot, both according to his own words that I shared with you, where he appeared on Smiley's story, where he, claimed to have, which he lied about on the Nancy Grace show. He said there was just one, and it was, years ago, 3 years ago. But then on Smiley's story, he lets it slip up that, Sebastian was 15. And then we found out from the private investigator, Heather, when she appeared on News Nation, that, Chris Proudfoot, that the most recent one was closed in February, right prior to Sebastian's disappearance. So I think for Chris Proudfoot, the fact that this is a red flag. I'm not saying he did anything to Sebastian, and everything I'm sharing is just my opinion, and opinions are not facts. And this video is for educational entertainment purposes only. But in my opinion, I think this is a red flag. The fact that we have multiple CPS and Department of Family Services cases opened, both in New Mexico and Tennessee, according to Chris Proudfoot's own words, that's a red flag. 3, using a belt on a special needs child. One of the things that jumped out at me when I was watching the video from Sebastian Rogers, that video that Dog the Bounty Hunter put, which is the last video footage that we have of Sebastian leaving the Texas Roadhouse Grill. And remind me to talk about the second thing at the Texas Roadhouse Grill. But is that Katie had a handicapped parking place. So, he's parked in a handicapped zone. So to me, the use of a belt or any type of physical discipline would be completely inappropriate. If someone is handicapped to the point where they need a handicapped parking spot, why would, even though he was high functioning, I just don't think it's appropriate to use corporal punishment. Let me know what you think. The other thing that really jumped out at me with the Texas Roadhouse video was the fact that, Katie spent the whole time, in her phone. She wasn't really, she looked up at Sebastian, maybe once or twice. She was also looking around the restaurant, but she was really into that phone. And it just, it was heartbreaking to see that there was just she wasn't engaged with him. She didn't seem to be interested. And maybe she was just, tired. Maybe there was a, really interesting conversation on her cell phone, but it was weird that they took the time to go out for dinner, but she wasn't interested in engaging to him. And that bothered me too. But the big red flag was the use of any kind of corporal punishment on a child that's to the special needs, to the point where you need a handicap parking space. To me, it was inappropriate, and nobody should have been putting their hands on Sebastian, and especially not a step parent. And I just don't think it was Chris Proudfoot's place to do that. He wasn't the father. He wasn't the mother. It wasn't his place. And I also think a special needs child to the point where they need a handicap parking space, definitely not appropriate, in my opinion. I don't really believe in corporal punishment irregardless. I just want to be honest about that. But especially with somebody with special needs. Number 4 is stepfather lying about taking a polygraph and then claiming that law enforcement told him he didn't need to take a polygraph. To me, that's a big red flag. Why lie about it? Why lie and say first that you were you took it, then I will take it. Nancy Grace asked him to take it. He agreed to show up and then didn't show up. And then when he was asked about that later on, he said, oh, well, law enforcement doesn't need me to take a polygraph. And that just doesn't pass the smell test, because I think law enforcement would want to know if he knew anything. Now, maybe he really was, out of town. He says he was out of town for the whole month of February at his job site. But I think it's a red flag that he was not interested in taking a polygraph. Number 5 is not searching for 9 months. Chris and Katie Proudfoot, to our knowledge, did 0 searching. Now, initially, I can understand Katie Proudfoot not searching, because law enforcement told her to stay home in the event that Sebastian came home. But I don't understand not searching later. I don't understand not even showing up at the search sites to thank searchers. That to me is a big red flag. Number 6 is leaving the home that law enforcement told you to stay at in case Sebastian comes home, leaving that home to accompany Chris Proudfoot to work. Chris Proudfoot had been going to work by himself for the whole month of February. The fact that a few weeks into it, Katie Proudfoot decided she was going to leave the house. People have said, well, she felt scared, she felt nervous, but the Bowersox were in town. She could have had somebody come and stay with her. She could have told law enforcement about the threats and reported them, because nobody should be threatening anybody. But to me, it's just another red flag. Why wouldn't you stay in the house? Even if you stay with the Bowersox, if you felt nervous about staying in the house by yourself, so you were close by, you could go there during the day and sleep at night at the Bowersox if you felt that nervous about it, and have one of your family members or relatives sleep at the house. But instead, she closes up the house and goes and leaves town to go to another city, another state, to accompany Chris Proudfoot to work. Number 7 is not calling the authorities herself to report Sebastian was missing that day, and having Chris do it instead. The person who would know the most information would have been Katie Proudfoot. So in my opinion, it would have made the most sense for her to have called law enforcement herself. And then the fact that Chris didn't call 911, reportedly, he called in on a non-recorded line to report Sebastian missing. I also think, again, I'm not saying they did anything to Sebastian, but people just ask, why do we have red flags? Well, here's why. This is why. Number 8, not calling Seth herself to report that Sebastian was missing, but instead having Chris Proudfoot do it. Again, I would think that as co-parents with Seth, and I understand, people have their feelings about Seth, and I'm not here to be a Seth apologist, but to me, Seth has the most rock solid alibi, which is why I don't spend as much time on Seth, although I have called him out for nonsense before on my channel. But to me, I don't understand. But to me, Seth has the most rock solid alibi. He was working at the jail, prison. He would have been on camera going into work. He would have been on camera at work. He would have been on camera leaving work. So even though I don't think he's perfect, I don't think he had anything to do with Sebastian's disappearance, because I think he has an ironclad alibi. So why didn't Katie call Seth herself instead of having Chris do it? I think that being that you're co-parents, no matter how you feel about each other, that would have been a call you would have made yourself. But she didn't. That's another red flag for me, in my opinion, that maybe she just couldn't face Seth. Number 9, the fact that the anniversary of the divorce date is the same date that Sebastian disappeared. I don't think that's the chances of that occurring are 1 out of 365 days. I do think that date was significant to someone. And I think that it would have been, just another way to make it cruel, in my opinion, is to use the anniversary of that divorce date. Number 10, the fact that Chris and Katie Proudfoot did not attend a single prayer vigil other than the time that Chris showed up, but he didn't attend the vigil. He just showed up to tell Seth that they wanted to work together. But they didn't even show up to thank the people who did attend the prayer vigil. Why not? Why not go and at least, even if you don't want to pray, at least say thank you to the people that showed up and that care about your son. And then 11 is Katie's ever-changing versions of the event that Sebastian disappeared. Just those 3 different versions. One, the first version that didn't include the thud. Version 2, where the thud was added and she yelled at him to go back to bed. And then version 3, we have the thud, Katie asking Sebastian's okay, and then he responds to her at 10 p.m. in version 3. So those are the things that just really bother me. And again, I'm not saying they did anything to Sebastian. I'm just saying these are red flags that, not just I have, but a lot of you guys have as well. And And we're going to talk about the biggest theories in the case in just a second. And we're going to go through some of the reports from some of the neighbors also. Let me say hello to chat. I don't want to do come on up and talk to me. I do want to talk with you guys, and it's okay if we don't all agree, but I do want to talk. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Is there a red flag that you see that I missed? Maybe there's something that bothers you that didn't jump out to me. And again, I'm not saying they did anything. I'm just saying this is why I feel a certain kind of way about this case. So let's go through and grab some questions. Jen says, somebody gifted me a membership. Thank you so much. Let me see who that was. It's Njaz. Thank you, Njaz, for gifting Jen a reporter room membership. Thank you so much. Njaz has been gifting a membership for nearly every live stream we have. So thank you for that. That's really nice of you. Very, very generous. Let's see. Jen says, my primary question remains, I have a video of Nina stating she thought he was calling about their lawsuit, but it was about Sebastian, and then that he went missing from 12:30 to 12:30 to 6 a.m. Yeah, and that's that's interesting. That's what Nina says. Hi, Orange Wedge. This is our head mod, Njaz. Thank you so much for modding, Pepper. This is a G-rated chat. I watch my language in case you have little ones in the room. Please like and subscribe. And thank you to everybody. I will turn the volume up, Mike. Thanks for letting me know. I will turn the volume up. Please, thank you to everybody. We got to 5 million views on this channel this week. So thank you to everybody for that. So let me turn the volume up and let's continue on with this together. Let me move myself back out of the way. And there we go. And let me turn the volume up on this. And then we're going to dig into some more information. But let me get the volume up on this. Okay, should be better now.
You've told me you do want to stay positive. I know you both want to stay positive. That's all part of it. So in your mind, do you see Sebastian coming back through your front door? Do you feel he's okay? He's alive. He's out there.
I dream about it every day. I dream that one day I'm going to wake up and this is going to be a nightmare. But yes, I believe that my son is out there somewhere. I believe that we are going to find him. We are going to bring him home, and we're going to find a way to recover from this. And I'm going to watch him grow into a young man and, live the life that he deserves to have.
What would you say to him when he walked in that door?
Oh God, I don't even know if I'd be able to speak. I'd probably bulldoze him down with hugs. Honestly, when I picture that, I just picture being able to hug him, to hold him, to smell him. I mean, just to be able to hear his voice, to hear his laugh, to see him just be with us and be okay is like I can't wait to see my son. I want to find him so bad.
And I think if she had come across in early interviews the way that she came across in this interview, which I do really like that she's talking about him in present tense. I do really like, a lot of the things that she's saying here. I think if she had this had been the initial interview, I don't think we would have had, this 4-alarm fire going off in our guts about Katie. I don't think it would have come down to that. Unfortunately, this is, a year later. And, there's already so many red flags in the case. So I do think that, yeah, Chris Proudfoot sits quietly and doesn't talk. And that's unusual too, because in the past we've seen this, as Peter Hyatt described him as being bellicose, loud, bragging about, how he treated Sebastian. So I think that, well, I agree. I think they felt obligated, but I think it's even, I'm going to take it one step further. So this is my opinion, opinions. I think and I told you guys that I thought it was a false flag in the false flag video that I put out, live stream that I did, that I thought the fact that they released through their private investigator this video, I mean, we all, have seen the lights video, and we're being told, by Chris Proudfoot to ignore that. Don't pay attention to that video. Instead, let's focus on the video that shows, a figure dressed all in black. That law enforcement has said they already have cleared that person. They know who is in that video, and it is not Sebastian Rogers. So I feel like they are telling us, law enforcement has told us that they don't think that that video it was supposed to be. And I think that, their private investigator was caught flat-footed. I think he released it to the media. And that was supposed to drive the narrative, and it did to a large extent. If you think about how this case was covered, they all brought up that video, but then they also had to say, well, but law enforcement tells us the video is not related. And I think that the plan, and I'm not saying the PI had anything to do with the plan, but I think that the plan was to control the narrative of Sebastian's 1-year anniversary. They knew everybody was going to be talking about it. So to control the narrative, I think that a video that law enforcement was able to, just to identify who was in that video early on in the first few days, in the first few weeks of the investigation. So they had already seen the video, knew about it. The fact that this was being purported as being a new finding. And then if you go back and you look at the private investigator's interview on Lore Lodge, I don't want to play their video because I don't know how they are about copyright, but my feeling, if you look at what he's just, Steve talks about this finding of this video footage, and in my opinion, he's describing the video footage of where we saw the figure coming out and walking behind the truck or the vehicle, and then reappearing again. He's saying the person is hiding. To me, it just looks like he walked behind the truck and then, turns around and goes back to their house. But law enforcement knew about this. And I do think that this was a planned false flag that we were, and I'm not saying the private investigator had anything to do with it, but I do think this was an effort by someone who was trying to control the narrative to have us feel a certain kind of way about everything. And, again, I'm not saying anybody did anything to Sebastian. I just don't like the feeling of being manipulated. And I just feel like, I just feel like the fact that a video that law enforcement debunked, why wouldn't you as a private investigator give it to law enforcement and get their opinion on it before you spread it out to the media? I don't know. Maybe he wasn't the one that turned it over to the media. Maybe the Proudfoots turned it over to the media, that video. But why would you put that out when law enforcement, and make law enforcement come out and say, no, we gathered up all of the CCTV cameras. We had that video from the beginning. We know who's in that video. We were able to identify them. Why? And I think that video was supposed to come out with this interview with Katie Proudfoot. And I think that it was supposed to all come out at the same time. And then it seems like I don't know why it would have been released, why you would expect the media not to release the interview or not to release the footage, because honestly, if you have had footage of a missing person and you really believed that was Sebastian on the video. So let's put our critical thinkers hats on here. If we all as a community really believed that video was Sebastian, would you release it to the media and hold it for a few weeks and tell them to hold it? Or B, would you immediately turn it over to law enforcement and then maybe release it also to the media to get the public's help? I think it's interesting that the private investigator tells us that he wasn't aware that it was coming out at that point. So he was aware it was coming out. And so I do think this was a planned false flag, that we were supposed to see this video and get these interviews all at the same time around the anniversary of Sebastian. But again, putting our critical thinker's hat on, if you were sitting on a video and you were a journalist, would you immediately give it to law enforcement and release it to the public? Or would you agree to terms to hold it for a week when you have a missing special needs child? When you have a missing special needs child, you are not going to say as a journalist, you know what, I'm going to hold this video and not release it to the public. I'm not going to give it to law enforcement. I'm not going to release it to the public, even though it might help find a missing child because I was told to by the people who gave it to me. I mean, come on. Nobody would agree to that and would adhere to those type of rules. And nobody that really was interested in finding Sebastian would demand that these rules are put into place. Listen, I'm going to give you, hey, reporter so-and-so, I'm going to give you this video of what I believe is Sebastian hiding behind a vehicle. But I don't want you to release it to the public. And I don't want you to, I don't want you to put it out there until the anniversary of his going missing. Would you, this is like another red flag to add to the other 11 red flags that I've already talked about. Just as a critical thinker, would you expect law enforcement to hold that video for you? And the media to hold that video for you? And would you expect a journalist to hold that video for you? That's ridiculous. No journalist is going to, in the case of a missing child, is going to be like, you know what? Yeah, I have this video that could be him. And I'm not going to air it to the public and give it to law enforcement. I'm just going to hold it for a week while a child is missing. Somebody, this is according to Steve Fisher. Somebody said he didn't expect the video to come out when it came out. That's what he says. I'm not saying that, this is what he put out. So my question is, who in their right mind who is looking for a missing child would say, I don't want this video to come out right now. So yeah, I guess my question is, who asked the media to hold it? And if you were a journalist, would you have agreed to that? Because they obviously didn't agree to, they obviously put the video out early and then law enforcement had to come out and debunk it. But what kind of person would demand that a journalist hold the video? And what kind of a journalist would it be if they held a video of a potential missing child? That would be so unethical on so many levels. You would just never agree to withhold the video of a missing special needs child until the 1-year anniversary. To me, that's just another huge red flag in a case of red flags. And it's, I understand there's nothing, and I'm not saying that Chris and Katie Proudfoot did anything to Sebastian. I don't know what happened in the house that night. But I'm just saying there are red flags, and there's a reason that people feel a certain kind of way about it. And if you go back and look at the interview that Lore Lodge did with the private investigator, Steve, he talks about, and it sounds like he is describing the video that was then, and that was weeks ago, right? When did the Lore Lodge video, let me look. When did the Lore Lodge, let me go to YouTube for a second. When did that Lore Lodge, I don't want to play their video because I don't want to get in trouble. But let me just put Lore Lodge and his name in there. When was that released? And listen with your own ears. You don't have to take my word for it. Okay, so this was a month ago. Let me just show you this. I don't want to play that. I don't want to play it. I just, because I don't want to get into trouble. Okay, so this is a month ago. This is a month ago. And I don't have their permission to play their video, so I'm not going to. But this is a month ago that he's on there. And if you go back and you listen for yourself, it is clear that he is describing the video that was then released to us. The video that he says that he wasn't expecting to come out right then. But what kind of person holds a video that they believe is a would lead people to a missing child? What kind of person would agree to hold that video? Who would hold that video? You can't expect a journalist who cares about finding a missing child to hold a video. If you were a private investigator and you knew about that video, and you listen for your own ears to Lore Lodge. I wish I could play it for you, but I don't want to get in trouble with Lore Lodge. I don't know them as content creators. I don't know how they are about sharing their content. They might be just fine with it, but I don't want to get in trouble. But listen with your own ears and listen to him describing it and tell me that's not the video that we saw. And then tell me, how do you sit on a video like that for weeks and then release it to the media and then say you're surprised that the media released it, when any person who has any sense of decency is not going to hold a video of a missing special needs child because someone asked them to. No, they're going to put it out there because maybe it will lead to him being found. And they're going to also give it to law enforcement to get their response to it. They're not going to hold it for you. Nobody would agree to hold it. But I think this was an effort to gaslight us. I think it was a false flag. Watch my false flag media video on the live stream that I did. And this is why we have so many questions. So I think Katie and Chris come across great in this interview. I really do. I wish this had, if this had been the two people that we saw early on and heard early on, I don't even think we would be having all these red flags. But we do. We do, because, this is a year later after getting all the feedback from the statement analysts, Steve Johnson, statement analyst, Peter Hyatt, statement analyst and behavior criminal profiler, Pat Brown, all of whom saw red flags. And then we have their own private investigator. And let me just pull that up so you guys are like, what is she talking about? Let me just show you what he said. Let me show you in case you didn't see that live stream. I don't want to make you have to go back and watch the whole thing. Let me just see if I have it here. I do. Okay, let me just take this. Let me add this in. Okay. Let me move myself out of the way here. Let me try this up here. Okay. Let's go to what Steve Fisher said. So here's the law enforcement debunking it. So they have to debunk it, this video, because the media immediately published it. Because how unethical would it be not to publish it? It could lead to him being found. But here we have Steve Fisher's own words. I'm currently on a search, so I will not be commenting further today. However, the video that has been released from, and he doesn't say who, was not supposed to be made public until next week. The video that has been released from, he doesn't say who, I'd love to know who, was not supposed to be made public until next week. If you really believed that this was a missing special needs child, why would you give it to the media with the caveat that they're not allowed to release it until next week? I mean, come on. What kind of media? I saw people going, oh, shame on the media for releasing it. No, this is, of course they're going to release it. Maybe it will lead to him being found. They also gave it to the sheriff's office, who had to come out and debunk it. Here we go. Law enforcement has had the possession of the original video since 72 hours after Sebastian was reported missing. After thoroughly investigating this lead, we have determined it has no relevance to the case. So from who? The video that has been released from blank was not supposed to be made public until next week. From who? Fill that blank in. Who did put that, and I'm not saying Steve put the video out. Somebody put the video out. Who put that video out and then told people they couldn't release it until next week? And then they actually expected ethical journalists to adhere to that. And people wonder why we have red flags. They're like, well, I don't know. We don't like Seth. Law enforcement doesn't get to pick the parents of a missing kid case. And you may not like Seth. I've called out Seth, and I'm not here to be a Seth apologist. I'm looking at what professional people are telling me, what criminal profiler and 2 renowned statement analysts are telling me. And also our own gut is telling us about this case, but also just looking at what we know. So this video that's supposed to be Sebastian was put out from, and he doesn't tell us who, to the media, but the media was told to hold it. And then listen to his interview on Lore Lodge and tell me that's not the video that we all saw. If I'm wrong, let me know if you think I'm wrong. The Epic Skeptic says, for a better choice of words, he's old enough to know he's missing and say, hey, that's me. And sorry, I think I skipped ahead. Thank you, Enjaz, so much for your 10 pounds. I really, really appreciate it. I am putting that toward the computer fund. Let me just, and then Dubs, thank you so much for your $4.99. I really, really appreciate it. I will be putting that toward our computer fund. Possible plot twist. Katie is in danger and Chris and the family are involved. AtNight did text her and just, give her like some hints to, like, if she was, in some kind of coercive control situation, to let them know. But, to me, it looks like she's talking here fine. And she was the one that was at home that night. According to Chris Proudfoot, he wasn't in town. And thank you so much, Enjaz, for all your hard work. I really appreciate it. It takes me a long time to go live with this stuff. I do put a lot of time into trying to, bring you guys the latest information. So I do want to just share this as well, because I just think that this is interesting also. Again, in and of itself, it might just be a nothing burger, but like when you start like putting all the pieces together, it's like, well, what is going on with this? But here we have neighbors that are saying that that reports highlighting troubling escalation of pressure tactics and fear targeting families in the area. This is sourcing is AtNight, so this isn't me saying this. But let me just go through this. So reports from the neighborhood: 1, family relocation due to fear. 1 household in the Stafford Court area, that's the street that Sebastian disappeared from, has vacated their home, opting to stay in a nearby hotel after experiencing intense fear and intimidation. 2, threats to a second family. Another family remains in their home but has expressed significant fear of opening their door due to intimidation by an investigator and his unlicensed associates. The investigator reportedly threatened a neighbor, stating he would watch her every move, creating an environment of fear and distrust. Somebody's going around posing as an investigator in this case. Both families have reportedly contacted law enforcement and filed formal complaints regarding these incidences. I mean, nobody should be bothering anybody. So here's the call to action. AtNight is urging anyone in the Stafford Court area or Enoch Way areas who witness suspicious activity to 1, call 911 to report the individuals involved. 2, if the individuals have returned multiple times, if somebody's at your door pretending to be a private investigator, call the police. If some individuals have returned to your house multiple times, consider pursuing trespassing charges to ensure your safety and protect your property. We recommend documenting any incidences with photos, videos, written records to support any formal complaint against law enforcement. And I just want to say, if you have any credible tips, please call or text 844-922-3236, or even better, call 1-800-TBI FIND. That's 1-800-TBI-FINDE. So why are people feeling so nervous about this? And we're going to go through your comments next. Let me just check in with chat. Let me see. I want to know what you guys think. Tell me your questions. Kim, thank you to all of our mods too, by the way, for modding. Kim says, in my opinion, so this is just me reading a comment. Don't come for me. In my opinion, they hired SF Investigates to push the Proudfoots narrative to all the crime channels, and it's kind of working. Yeah, if you look at thank you for sharing your opinion on this, and thank you for putting my opinion. If you look at the press, let's pull this up. Let's look at what they were able to get done with this video. Look at this. If you look at all of the press on this, they've controlled the narrative to the mainstream media. We are going to find him. My son is out there somewhere. Terry Lynn won't stop looking for Sebastian. I understand we want answers. We're never going to stop searching. No updates 1 year into the search. So in my opinion, they have controlled the narrative. They have done a good job with that. And I don't know. I'm just curious what you guys think. DM says, it's so nice to have you back. Thank you so much, DM. It means so much to me to get to be back with you guys. The Epic Skeptic says, a few of those PIs don't settle with me too well. Don't settle with me too well. Oh, don't settle with me. Don't sit with you. Like, don't. Okay, don't. I get it. Okay, sorry. I was misreading that. My bad. The Bushi said, in my opinion, Chris Proudfoot totally dismantled communication between Seth and Katie. Leslie Keep It Real says, they think they got away with the disappearance. In my opinion, law enforcement's waiting to find Sebastian before they change and, charge anyone. Kim says, timing is everything for them, in my opinion. And Jazz, thank you for modding today. She's one of our head mods along with Brother Mike and Amelia, 6 Sense Amelia. In my heart, I do not believe Sebastian ran away, but that is my opinion. Passion Flower said Sebastian will never be found. Bushi said, isn't that against the law to withhold evidence as a journalist? I don't know. Let me look. I don't know, because you're allowed to protect your sources. But it would be unethical. And I'm going to look up Tennessee, see if I can get anything specific. I'm just looking to see if there's anything. Okay, so let me move myself out of the way here. Great questions, you guys. So I love reading your questions. Okay, so under Evelyn's law, in Tennessee is penalties against parents, but I don't see anything specific for journalists. So parents have to report it. And this is because of Megan Boswell. I did a video on that case as well. Megan Boswell case, Evelyn, that it is a crime not to report your child missing. But I don't see anything about journalists, but it would be unethical for a journalist to not report, to sit on a video like that. I mean, it would be unethical for any of us, right? I don't know if I didn't hear him say he had it for a month. I'm just asking if he was on Lore Lodge and he was describing this video that he saw. Wasn't that the same video that got put out? So that was a month ago, right? So that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying Steve did anything. I'm just saying, is this the same video? And if it is, if this is a missing special needs child, wouldn't you put it out right away? Leslie says, I'm not going to shut up. Not the Proudfoots make me so angry with their games. S-Dub says, what do you mean against the law as a journalist? Well, she just meant that. Is it against the law for a journalist not to, say something if you get a tip like that and you don't turn it into law enforcement? A journalist can protect their sources, but this wasn't protecting sources. This would have been, withholding information in a missing child case. I just don't think ethically, I'm not saying legally they were obligated to release it. I'm just thinking morally, as a decent human being, who would sit on a video like that? Like, why would you, why is Steve so surprised that it wasn't released right away? Because nobody with any common sense of decency would sit on a video like that. Thank you for modding today, Pepper. So let's go through some of your comments. I do want to go through what you guys have to say on this. Leslie said, I call BS. No one would hold something like that. I agree. Lightfon says, when I saw the video, I saw a possible person run hunched over toward the car parked on the road. I just saw a person going toward a car or a vehicle parked on the road, and then it looked like they went back. But yeah, Lore Lodge is okay with showing it. Thank you, Clopes. Tina says, are they planning on crashing the vigil tomorrow? I don't know. I mean, it would be nice. That would be the right thing to do. I think if they had started doing these things at the beginning and had given an interview like this at the beginning, I don't think we would all be like, where we are. But then if you just look at this video from that was released last week, yeah, we have a Facebook group. If you type in Sebastian Rogers and Reporter Room, it should pop up for you if you want to come join us. Well, she's remembering Sebastian. So I think that's nice. And like, again, if I had seen Katie Proudfoot, and this was the only time I had seen her and heard her and Chris Proudfoot, we wouldn't even be having this same live stream that we're having today. I wouldn't be talking about the red flags. But that's, and I'm not saying they did anything to Sebastian, and I'm not saying, anything, against SF Investigates either. But thank you so much, Enjaz. This is for modding tonight. But I just, can't get past like, what? I'm currently on a search, so I will not be commenting further today. However, the video that has been released was from, it doesn't say who, the video that has been released from blank was not supposed to be made public until next week. Why wouldn't you make public the video of a missing special needs teenager? Why would you even ask for that to be held if you really believed that this video was important? That's just, as a reporter, I always go to why. So my question is, if you really thought, why would you expect the mainstream media not to run with it? Of course they're going to publish it. Of course they're going to turn it over to the sheriff's office. It's a special needs child. So why? I feel like he got caught on the back foot. I guess my question is, who? However, the video that has been released today from blank, there's like something missing there. From who? Who released the video? Was not supposed to be made public until next week. And then he says, I never stated to WSMV that this quote could be the break. During the interview, I only mentioned that we would like to know whether law enforcement has accounted for this individual at 12:17 a.m. as we cannot account for them. Okay, but if you wanted to know if law enforcement could account for them, why would you just not go to law enforcement? Give them the video, and then if you still want to release it right away, because maybe this is significant. So I believe, I'm not saying he didn't think it was significant. My question is, who asked the media to hold it for a week? And what kind of unethical media outlet would they be if they held on to that video? That just really bothers me. Wait says, oh, let the dogs out. Who, ha, who, ha, who. Yeah, who. Let the dogs out. Hi, nice to meet you. Wait. Leslie said, oh, S-Dubs migraines are the worst. I hope you feel better, S-Dubs. Where's Summer? Thank you for bringing up Summer. 1-800-TBI find is also the number for Sebastian. I've called Seth out a few times, but I do not believe for 1 second that Seth had one dang thing to do with his son's disappearance. I agree. Seth has been searching. And 1-800-TBI find is the number you want to call. I'm just, trying to put the pieces together. And if I put them together the wrong way, that's fine. This is just my opinion, and opinions are not facts. But, I guess, I don't understand if you thought this video was, why, if you really thought it was Sebastian, why would you not expect it to be released right away when you want it to be released right away is the better question. Leslie says, my fear is Katie sent Sebastian to her mother. I don't know. I think law enforcement would have found him. Estef said, I believe he was in town. You're talking about Chris Proudfoot. SHSL said, SF. I don't know what that, I think that's German. I'm going to have to read that. I have to translate that comment. I'll have to translate it. I don't think I can snag it this way. I can't. Okay, so sorry about that. I wish I could answer you. If I see it in the comment section, I'll snag it and run it through like a translation so I can try. Allie said, I think Chris and Katie know. I also believe that since it was a nice home, it seems like Chris has friends in law enforcement, possibly family. But the sheriff has said that, told Laura Lodge that he's not friends with Chris Proudfoot. So I feel like that was him just kind of, drawing a line there saying, well, maybe he has friends that work here, but I'm not friends with him. We're investigating this. So I do think they are investigating this. I hope. I think they are. Hey, Christine. Hi, the Jewel. All right, so let's go through some of your comments, and then I want to talk about some of the theories in the case. But let me close this up. Let's go through some of your comments. Let me go over and let's go through some of the posts that you guys have made to me. And I'm gonna focus in on comments that were left by subscribers. So let's do the last public video, because the one I did the other day was I made it private because I didn't want to, because I had announced that hold on one second. I'm just putting, I don't want subscriber count. I want public subscribers. Okay. So let's share this instead. Okay. Let me move myself out of the way. All right. Let me move this. Do you know what's funny to me is I think you're being saying one, Chris and Katie don't know law enforcement already has this. Maybe they're not talking to law enforcement. No, he tells us that too, that they're not. So, all right. So let's go through some of your comments, because you guys, first of all, I love the green hearts for Sebastian from Dread Lover. Thank you so much. Tiny Diamond says, Yellow Jacket Richard Bishop is supposedly who he is, in my opinion. There's a video that slows way down, watches hand movement on his phone, shows image of Sebastian, in my opinion. I do appreciate all these tips. Jersey said, I would like to know how law enforcement found the person in the green hoodie. The person didn't talk to anyone in the roadhouse. They didn't buy any using a card or parked car where they could see. Well, that would be just assuming that this is such a great comment. I love this. This would be assuming that law enforcement didn't have access to any other video cameras. So they would have had access to all of the other cameras in that parking lot. So they would have been able to probably identify the car tag of the person, the car that green hoodie got into, and then been able to follow up with them via phone or whatever and just, find out who they are. Dorothy thinks it's sad the way that she and Chris Proudfoot treated him. CY Mountain BLK Man 54 says, look at the guy who comes from behind the white truck at 4:33. He meets up with Katie. It comes out at 45.22. And then Jersey's telling him that's the green hoodie person. And then Sherry puts up green hearts for Sebastian. And Robin Bush says, Bush says, I watched a video earlier and they said to watch a guy in the yellow jacket because it looks as if he has a picture on his phone, maybe of Sebastian. And Tiny Diamond says, now I see this video here. The yellow jacket is looking at his phone, most likely looking at pictures of Sebastian, in my opinion. Well, we don't know that. So I would just urge caution there. Like, let's just see. But this it just gives you guys kind of just an overview of to what some of the comments are. So this is the comments that were left by subscribers. So let's take away the subscribers now. And let's go through some of the other ones. Philly Girl said this channel is totally underrated. She gets out new information all the time. Thank you so much. Please subscribe, Philly Girl, if you see this. Daredevil says nothing screams guilt like refusing to help law enforcement find your missing child. The Jewel sends prayers for Sebastian. Deborah says, in my opinion, there was some sort of exchange between Katie Proudfoot and Green Hoodie Lady. Well, Green Hoodie Lady, now let's just put that out. That we do have identified her. There may have been an exchange, but she's been ruled out. But I do think that the video that Dog put up, just slowing it down, was asking people to look at the video because they're looking for any leads that they can, try to run down on this. Diane Sanders says, my thought is that Katie Proudfoot took the fifth because the authorities coming down on her. Hopefully they are. Smiley Paws is thanking everyone. Elizabeth Smith says, I noticed Sebastian said something to Katie Proudfoot and her reaction seemed harsh. He shrunk down and put his hands to his lap while holding his bread roll. He took another bite of the roll and barely looked up. Excruciating to watch. Mommy, why? Yeah, it's really sad to watch that last video that we have of Sebastian. It is sad. It is sad. It makes me feel bad. It does make me feel bad. I feel bad for Sebastian there. Yeah, so please consider subscribing. I do read your comments. Drop me a comment in the comment section below if I didn't get to your comment here. Allie says, may I ask when B court date is? I don't know if you're talking about a court case. I don't cover that on my channel. I don't do that. I know some people do, and that's fine. I'm not saying somebody should or shouldn't cover it. I just don't, because it doesn't really go with what we're talking about here on this channel. So you could probably Google it and they would tell you. Where Summer says 15-year-old teenagers that live the way Sebastian was living, no internet, no friends, no help, no nothing, will become very depressed and can do, yeah. And it could be something like that too. That's a great, that's a fair point. It's not something I want to think about, but it could be something like that. It could be that he ran away, that he was upset and ran away. Thank you, Pepper. Thank you for modding tonight. Please give this a thumbs up. Let the YouTube algorithm know we're doing a G-rated show. Kloop says, I agree. Where's Summer? All the pieces have seemed to come together. And the fact that they were trying to get him into a facility, now he's just gone, doesn't seem like a coincidence. I don't know if they were trying to get him into a facility, but I did hear that. Allie says, okay, and thank you. Oh, no problem, Allie. I know some people do talk about that, and I can understand why you want to know. I don't do that on this channel. I don't like to have any drama with any of my anybody else on the platform. So I want to talk about the 5 biggest theories in this case with you guys. I want to get your input on it because here's the 5 biggest theories. And if you have another theory, please let me know in the comment section below. Even if you're in the top chat, drop me a comment below because I do sometimes read and reread those. And sometimes I will be looking up stuff while I'm reading your comments to just, find stuff out. And if you have a source, like you've heard it and the source, like I read it in this newspaper, or I heard it from law enforcement, or Nick Barris said it. Tell me, what your source is on that. So let's go through the 5 biggest theories in this case. I'm curious to get you guys' input. One is that there was an accident inside the Proudfoot home. So I don't think this would have been the case because I think Katie would have just simply called 911 and gotten help if there was just an accident. So I don't think that's the case. Number 2, there was an intentional injury and subsequent cover-up. So nobody, not Seth, not Katie, not Chris, nobody's been charged with anything. But Katie Proudfoot was the last one to see Sebastian, which is why I do talk about this case more in terms of her than anybody else. And Seth does have that ironclad alibi of working in a prison. And I do think that's taking care of special needs child is hard. And we do know from, according to Chris Proudfoot, that Chris wasn't coming home during the month of February. So, I don't know. There's no evidence of this, however. Number 3, that Sebastian was abducted. I think this is a distinct possibility that somebody could have lured Sebastian out of the house. But again, we don't have a ransom note like you would expect if somebody was abducted for a ransom, that a ransom note would be left, but not always. Remember the little case of little Cleo? She was taken from inside her parents' tent while they were camping by somebody that just saw her on social media. So they didn't know him, but he was just in their periphery, like friends of a friend, and had seen Cleo's pictures, and he got obsessed with her and stole her while they were camping. So it could be something like that. But I do think it's odd that we don't have a ransom note, but not unheard of. And I think it's odd that Chris Proudfoot they want us, I don't know. It seemed like, this is allegedly, in my opinion, seems like they wanted us focused on this new video that purported to show Sebastian, but not the lights video that Nick Barris showed us and that I've showed on this channel, where I do think it shows somebody. And I just think the fact that the Proudfoots don't show any interest in that video at all is interesting, because sometimes it's what somebody doesn't say is just as interesting to me as what they do say. So what do you guys think? Are you watching closely? Number 4 is Sebastian ran away. I think this is also a distinct possibility. He could have heard something that night that sent him out of the house without his shoes on. But would he have actually planned to run away but not taken his shoes, his cell phone, or any items that he liked or cared about? I don't think so. I don't think this was a planned runaway. Did he run out that night in relation to something he heard on the phone with Chris and Katie Proudfoot? I think that's possible. But Katie tells us she was in the living room when she was talking to Chris, and that she was on the phone with him for 3 hours. So if he ran out the door, why didn't she see him go out the door? We've also, maybe she fell asleep, and then why don't we have any videos that pick up footage of Sebastian on videotape? And then the 5th theory is that Sebastian locked himself accidentally out of the house. And again, Katie Proudfoot tells us she was in the living room talking with Chris Proudfoot. So if Sebastian locked him out, why wouldn't Katie just let Sebastian back inside? Why would, if I'm sure he would have, he was high functioning enough to knock on the door. If he was outside with no shoes, no coat in February and 40 something degree weather, I would think that he would be knocking on the door to get back in. So again, why don't we have him coming back to be let into the house? What do you guys think? Katie Boo thinks that Katie was possibly seeking attention from Chris, as he rarely visited home. If Sebastian went missing, she would have Chris's full attention. Wow. That gives me Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Dee Dee Blanchard vibes with Munchausen's. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know. Pink Painter says, it scares me to think that he went to the construction site and that something happened to him there, but I don't know why he'd go without shoes. Yeah, I agree. Why would he go outside with no shoes on and not knock on the door to get back in? And Katie says she was in the living room, and Chris Proudfoot tells us too. And here's another red flag that I just thought of. The dogs always slept with Katie, right? That's what they've said in multiple interviews. So why that night of all nights, on Sebastian's best day ever, were the dogs put up that night? Why weren't they sleeping with Katie Proudfoot that night? Pink Page just says, why would he go out without shoes? 1-800, where's Summer? 1-800 TBI find. Ask yourself why they never got any touch DNA on that cold keypad to that front door. Ask yourself that. So they didn't get any DNA? Zero, zilch? I mean, Katie might have been going in and out the garage door, but to get no DNA? Oh, I haven't heard that. Leslie Keep It Real says, no, he had stepped in fire ants as a little kid. And had you never forget, and you never forget to wear shoes when you go outside after that. Yeah, that's what and we also know that people who have autism like routines. So if he normally preferred to have shoes on outside, it's not, unrealistic to expect that if he was planning to run away. I'm not saying somebody couldn't have lured him out of the house. This could be a stranger too. But I just don't think he planned a runaway. I guess it's possible. And just as we heard it on Wednesday, also Calgal, but it isn't true. Does he have stage 4 cancer? Yeah. So from what I've heard, I was told during the live stream that then I just want to make sure you guys know that Peter Hyatt was no longer with us because he has stage 4 cancer. I thought, oh my gosh. And when I went to Twitter, I saw all of these people giving sympathy to the last comment that Peter had posted. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it must be true. And also we had admins and moderators from accounts that I trust were also reporting this out. But where I was able to get it was I found it back to like what I believe is the original source, which came out 18 hours before. I don't know why this person put that out, but and then it just, got passed from person to person. And so I took down my video out of respect to the family, just because I don't want to, I just want to be respectful of Peter Hyatt's. But so he's still with us, but they are asking for prayers. He does have stage 4 cancer. That's all I know. Sebastian knew the key code. He could get back inside. Thank you for sharing that. How do you know that? That's what I want to know. Like, what makes you, like, how do you know that? Allie said she thought about that. Boo Sheet said, why has Chris never spoken about the thud? Would Chris Proudfoot not have heard the thud while on the phone call with Katie Proudfoot? Well, that's a great question. This is why I love reading your comments. I don't know. Orange Wed, is he still in the house? I don't think so, because Katie tells us that law enforcement searched the house multiple times. So I don't think he's still in the house. I think, they would have found him. Pink Banjo said, is it possible the trucks and sounds of the construction drew his attention so strongly? I would think that construction sounds would have bothered him more than attracted him. But you could be right, Pink Banjo. NHGG says, I don't think so either. Bushit says, zero DNA, like it was wiped completely clean on the touchpad. Where Summer 1-800-TBI Fine says, no, actually, Chris and Katie said when Chris was there, the dogs do go in the kennel. When Chris is out of town, she lets the dog sleep with her. Right. So why on that night were the dogs in their kennel or in their crate? Why were they in there? Why were they crated that night? It's just something else interesting. Another red flag, in my opinion. Pay Wizard Oz, even in the photo of Sebastian in the pool with the flamingo float, he has on his shoes. So him leaving barefooted makes no sense. Oh, wow. Good catch. This is why I love reading your comments. They are overlooking taking a pair of shoes. Seth noticed they were all there. Wow. Yeah, it did spread. It spread really quickly. Yeah, he does. And he's announced that, why I feel comfortable saying that. It's up on his Twitter. Allie said, I think it's on Facebook. I shared it in my Facebook groups. Allie said, I think it's odd they were on a 3-hour phone call after so many years of marriage. Usually after a while, you just get on phone talk some and then get off the phone and go to bed, whatever needs to be done. Right. And I said, how easy would it be if you wanted to establish a 3-hour phone call, right? To call Katie, put your phone on speakerphone, turn on your television, put your phone down next to the TV, and drive wherever you want to go. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying it wouldn't be hard to CYA yourself. And H says, absolutely. Kloop says, Katie said in an interview he had the key code to get back inside. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. If you guys happen to remember where you heard that, I would love to bring that up in the next live stream. So yeah, let me know if you guys know. And yeah, I love that you guys are praying for Peter. Thank you so much for loving on him and caring about him. He is a good person. Lisa said there was no scent of Sebastian outside the house or in the area. Right. Lisa's right. Why wouldn't the dogs have picked up on something? Right? The dogs didn't pick up on anything. Kloop says when he came home from school, he would get in by himself because Katie Proudfoot would be working. So, but I thought she did work from home. Am I wrong? Elizabeth said the Proudfoots had suggested to Seth that an out-of-state facility to place Sebastian in. Seth investigated that facility and children had passed there. He refused. This facility is very suspicious. Could they have him? No, I don't think so, Elizabeth. And I think this is a great question, and I really appreciate your asking it. I think that anybody that was harboring Sebastian, like a facility that didn't, being that there is an Amber Alert out, would be in serious trouble if they had Sebastian. So I don't think so. I agree. Lots of red flags. So again, red flags don't mean that somebody did anything. They don't mean somebody did anything. It's just, it's a concern. Salad Fingers hopes there's answers too. Lomax says prayers of strength and healing for Peter Hyatt. Thank you for that. I hope he gets to see how much we all love him. I hope he gets to read your comments, your love. Even though a lot of the sympathy comments, and one person started this whole thing. I'm not going to call out who it was, but one person put out something and it looked credible because it linked to like a document. It just all looked very credible. And because I tried to trace back to the root of it. And then it just kept going. Lisa says, no sense. Sebastian would have had to have been carried away from the house. I do think you have a point there, Lisa. Lainey said, Katie said it took her 3 minutes in different interviews to search the house and called immediately, but the call to law enforcement didn't occur till 6:33. 30 minutes is a long time. Well, she also said she went out in the car and she drove around. She went to the school to drive up to the school to see if he went there. But she did say it took her 1 minute flat of searching the house. So I don't know, you guys. I do want to thank Edja. She gifted another reporter membership. If you have that membership, please tell me who you are. And thank you so much, Edja. That's the second membership she's gifted during this live stream. So thank you so much, Edja. This is really, really generous of you to do that. So if you got that membership, let me know who you are. Busheet says, Katie did say Sebastian knew the code to the keypad. Thank you for sharing that. Pay Wizard Oz says, the reason Seth noticed all his shoes were in Katie Proudfoot's house is because he was in there with him and he had bought him a pair of boots and Katie Proudfoot had just gotten him a pair of shoes. Seth told us all of this info. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the thumbs up, Allie. Kloop said she did not work from home. She installed security systems in other people's homes, and that's why she had a company van. That's my understanding too. Now, whether she had to use that company van to drive places, could be she had to leave sometime. So, yeah, but my understanding was that she worked from home as well. So, thank you for clarifying that for us, Kloops. I appreciate you. Calgal says, "Thank you for the membership." So, thank you, Calgal. Thank you, Enjaz, for gifting Calgal a membership. And where Summer says, no, Katie went to homes and installed Brink security systems and other people's homes. She did not work from home. Sebastian went in the front door by himself through the code after school. Thank you for clarifying that. And Jess says, I agree, Jessica. We all care deeply for Sebastian. We are a huge army. Yes, we are. And we're keeping his name out there. And I really do appreciate all of you guys who take time to view and come up and talk to me and leave me comments in the comment section. Thank you to all of you because you guys really do care about Sebastian. And, this does help keep his name out there. Lisa says, so kind of you and Jazz. Leslie said, I rent a fifth wheel to search my place. It would take longer than 3 minutes. I rent a fifth wheel to search my place. It would take longer than 3 minutes. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for modding today, Leslie. Lois says, where are they living now? I don't know. And even if I knew, don't put it out there. If you do know, please don't put it out there. Okay. We don't want to send not that Lois doesn't mean it in a negative way. We know this though, Lois. So I do love this comment. So don't put it out there if you know where they are. But I do want to say this. We know this, and I love this comment because we know this. They're not at the house. And this was one of the red flags that I brought up, that she left the house so quickly after he disappeared. I just thought that was weird. So I'll just answer it this way. And if you do know where they are, please don't say it in the comment section. I don't want, doxing is dangerous. Okay. And Katie and Chris haven't been charged with anything. They haven't been charged with anything. Jackie says he's giving hearts for Sebastian. Thank you so much for modding today, and Jazz. Thank you for modding, Leslie. Let's see. Summer, it says, something else always bothered me. If your husband or wife calls you and says, I can't find him, he's missing, you would not automatically know they were talking about your kid. You would suspect a dog. Well, I don't know, maybe, but maybe she, I don't know what she may have said. She couldn't find Sebastian. I don't know. I don't know how she worded it exactly, but she did say, I can't find him. That was her word, and that was her inflection. Bushi said, wait, red flag. Didn't Katie change the timeline from 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m.? I don't know. Great. I don't know. Let me see what I can find out, though. I'll be looking. I'll tell you that. Either Duchess interview or Smiley Stories World about the key code in Sebastian using the front door to get in after school. Thank you so much for sharing that. That helps me look for it. I really appreciate it. It saves me some time. Calglass says, why doesn't Katie plead for his abductor to let him come home, not to hurt him, or if he left on his own to please come home? Well, she didn't early on. And that's, Calgal, this is why people, have like a 5-alarm fire going off, in my opinion. Not just statement analyst Peter Hyatt, not just statement analyst Steve Johnson, not just criminal profiler and statement analyst Pat Brown, but law enforcement. These people work with law enforcement, all three of these people. And the fact that all three of these people are saying we see deception here, even though they go about it in different ways, they're coming to the same conclusion. Pay Wizard Oz says, correction, I meant Seth was at Katie Proudfoot's house after he got there. Didn't mean to say he was there with him. Oh, that's how I read it too. But I do appreciate your clarifying it. Elizabeth Smith said, we pray for Sebastian's safe return with his daddy. Seth's soul bleeds for his baby boy. Thank you for that, Elizabeth. Lois says, the house is the home where the heart is. Their heart is not there in that home anymore. No, I agree. And they're not there in the home. I think, that did bother a lot of people, that when Nancy Grace said, did she move out? And she tells us she had to accompany her husband. It was just, I think a lot of us were like, what? Because I did a informal polling with you guys I think not the last live stream, but the one before that, where I asked you would you have left your house within weeks of Sebastian disappearing, or even months, or your child, if you had a child that disappeared, would anything have dragged you out of that house? And we, have heard from AtNight that the house is up for sale privately. Where Summer says Katie is an installer, and that means she goes to other people's homes and installs Brink security cameras. That's what is Star Wars. They do not work from the house. Thank you for clarifying that, because I thought I got the impression she did work from home, but it does make sense that she would have left the house at some point. Maybe she took calls at home or something like that. But that would explain the company van. They did have that Brinks van. I remember Nancy Grace asking about that van. Lomax said, yes, she did. The Jersey lady said, Mom told an interview that her son knew the code for the front door. Thank you for sharing that. Valley Baby says, exactly. Fushi said, Katie has chosen to plead the fifth. Yeah, according to AtNight. And I covered this too in the live stream, that Katie, reportedly, because lying to a federal investigator, the FBI specifically, we know they're involved because they have a $50,000 reward up for the safe return of Sebastian. Lying to the FBI is a crime. Leslie said, it bothered me that Chris Proudfoot called Seth's phone and not called the prison where Chris Proudfoot knew Seth had given him his emergency contact at his job. Yeah, it was just the way that was all handled. It just seems kind of odd to me. It was weird that Chris was calling law enforcement instead of Katie, even though Katie would have had the best, most recent information to give law enforcement. And then the fact that Chris Proudfoot, notified Seth instead of Katie. Again, I would just think that as co-parents, you would do it yourself personally, but maybe she was on the phone with law enforcement. I don't want to impugn that. She could have been busy with something else. Sarah CH says, if he was going to take off, Sebastian would have had his shoes and a phone. I agree. If it was planned, unless he just ran out of the house that night. And if he did, then what happened? I just feel like it just really does bother me. It really does. I'm not ending, but I just do want to say thank you to our producers, Enja, Sasha Angel, Mikey M, George Brown, and Pepper. And thank you to all of our channel members. And thank you for Enja's gifting multiple channel memberships today too. Thank you so much. If you got a channel membership from Enja's, please make sure to say thank you. It's really, really appreciate it. We are going to be doing a members only live stream, not tonight because I did a live stream prior to this, but I'm going to schedule it up tonight. You'll see it posted by later tonight, like sometime around midnight. And I just want to extend thanks and super thanks for coffee, super thanks and coffee gratitude. Sorry. And gifted channel memberships. Thank you so much. All right. So let's get back to it. I want to go back to your comments. Because I just do think it's a problem. This is a problem. This is this is a problem. This comment right here, I'm currently on a search, so I will not be commenting further today. However, the video that has been released from, we don't know who, was not supposed to be made public until next week. And I just really have an ethical problem. If anybody asked the media, and that may be something I follow up on, which is calling some of these journalists to find out, did anybody ask you to hold this video? It would be, in my opinion, unethical to withhold a video of a missing special needs child. So I understand why the journalists went public with it. And why they turned it over to law enforcement and aired it on their channel. Some people were saying, oh no, they shouldn't have done that. But when you have a missing child, you're gonna put it out there. But my question is, who told them that, who told Steve that it was not going to be released until next week? Who told Steve that? Who was like, and I'm not saying Steve did it, but somebody masterminded holding that video. Somebody released it. And, thank you so much for modding today, Brother Mike. I appreciate it. Where's Summer 1-800-TBI Find says, I love your handle, by the way. I just have to say thank you for that. There was also intercom system throughout the home that they live in. I have pictures to prove that. And Katie's bedroom comes out through the kitchen also. Boy, we could really use you in our chat. If you type in Reporter Room and Sebastian Rogers, we could really use you and some of your information in our chat. Would love to have you in there. If any of you guys want to come down and talk to us, if I'm not here, you don't see me here. But anyway, well, I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm getting tired. I did a live stream before this on the, I can't even think, Idaho 4 case. I'm sorry. I did a live stream on the Idaho Ford case. So I'm going to leave it there, but I am going to be scheduling 3 more live streams. And one of those 3 is going to be a channel members only live stream. It'll be up by midnight tonight. I'm not going live with the channel members tonight. Just want to make sure I'm clear on that. But I will see you guys on the next one. And thank you again for helping us get to 5 million viewers this week. I really, really do appreciate you. And please consider subscribing. It's free. And I cannot get to 40,000 subscribers without your help. It's free and it helps me out so much. And if you want to be kept up in the know on this case and on the Brian Kohlberger cases, I'm going to be airing the whole trial on my channel, and I'm going to be bringing you regular breaking news on the Brian Kohlberger case. I do have new information. I put it up in the live stream today. And you want to be in the know, let me know. If there's another case you want me to cover, let me know in the comment section below what you want me to cover, and I'll look into it. So thank you, Reporter Room family, for coming by to spend a little time with me, and I will see you the next time. Bye.